Clash Royale.
Dark
looking
gotta
really
pull
good
something
as
out.
we go into Dusk Towers.
Now, maybe that was a map-specific build, and Dark won't have to worry about that same idea here in these upcoming maps, especially on Dusk Towers, a map that has given us some of the longer games of StarCraft 2 this season. It'll be interesting to see how a different map maybe influences a different style. We've all seen Dark, especially in his final game in the Pro League, pull out some very, very aggressive strats. See if he's willing to bring those out again as we get into game number 2, guys. Dark versus Classic here in the SSL round of 4.
Here we are on Dusk Towers. Very, very popular map here out in Korea. Up in the top right, in the red. Losing that last one on the back foot, but it is Dark. Zerg player.
Certainly is. See what our fans have to say today. It says, you are the last remaining pride of Zerg. Turns out he's actually not. There's another PVZ on the other side of the bracket, but either way, this is our Protoss player in the blue on the bottom side of Dusk Towers. This is SK Telecom's Classic. Let's see what the fan has to say here. Classic, let's win the league and see you in a lot of funny interviews after you win. Well, we can still have funny interviews even if he doesn't win.
We got to bring back 10 questions and 10 answers to get the real funny interviews back here.
Oh man, those were the days. That was...
You know what? Sojin doesn't work here anymore. I'll take the responsibility. Let's do it.
You can be the 10.
I'm gonna talk to the PDs. Let's do it. Yeah, I'll be the guy.
You can do it, man. All right. Well, actually, further committing to blocking that hatchery with a pylon. Anytime I see Protoss players do this, a lot of times what Zergs will do is they'll expand to the third base first, and then safely expand and get their natural behind that. This time around, luckily, Dark did not do that, so he's not totally denied his early third hatchery, or his second hatchery, but still will be a little delayed on this third. A lot delayed.
So annoying.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, Classic did that actually perfectly. Okay, T1 team kill match. Dark and Classic. Let's win and go to a second consecutive finals match. That's what we're talking about.
Well, both of these players have been here before, and in keeping with time being a flat circle, we are sort of getting a little bit of a repeat here today with Dark and Classic. Once again, facing off the semifinals. Although, if last game is any indication, having a completely non-interactive first, 5-10 minutes of the game is not something Dark wants to have happen again. So you can see 10 more Zerglings, Speed, and Banelings coming out. This looks like it might not last very much longer.
I wonder if he's going to full-on commit to this. I mean, he's only on 21 drones, so... Yeah, definitely a decent commitment here. Still only Zerglings being pumped out. He's going to go for drops and perhaps attack the front at the same time.
Okay, so the plan is either pressure with Zerglings at the front and then, see if you can distract enough for those drops in the back to be effective. These are probably going to be Zergling and Baneling drops. It'll be interesting to see if it's just one Overlord or if he's going to ferry a bunch of units in multiple different waves of drops, because he is actually morphing another Overlord, although there are Phoenixes out that could make this a little bit more difficult, but there's Zerglings in your base.
Ooh, he's got Zerglings in the base, but at least he catches the other drop Overlord. Let's see if he deals with this. The Mothership Core is still at the front of the base right now.
Starting to lose those probes in the back, but there's Banelings morphing in the front. All of these probes might just run to their deaths. See how effective these Banelings are up in the front when they finally do come out. There we go, everything getting morphed there. The Zerglings in the base, though, have been kind of cleaned up.
Yeah, you know what? Classic is actually dealing with this really, really well. He made a full wall at the front. The Banelings are not going to be able to break that. And now, Dark, these Zerglings, as you said, they're going to be cleaned up. Turns out the depths are pretty strong, even if you get a full surround. Well, and now he's committed. He can't back off from here.
This reminds me a lot of the last game we saw Dark play in the SPL finals. And, he opened the door.
Uh-oh.
So these Zerglings might not be able to get in just because it has been blocked out again, but that's so many Zerglings. And here come these Banelings. So many gateways about to be built, trying to block it, but they're not in time. There's Zerglings, Banelings, and everything Zerg all inside Classic space. How many workers is he gonna get?
Oh man, he has so many Lings in there. At least he holds the front for now. The Phoenixes, you can see they're kind of just sitting there. They can't really do anything. They can lift maybe 3 or 4 Lings.
Gonna lift the Zerglings, man. 13 workers already going down, but there's still a lot of Zerglings left inside this base. One Baneling right on top, but it gets lifted at the last second.
Not many Zerglings do remain, and if Classic holds on, he's going to be in an okay position, but definitely a big mystery there to break down your wall and not scout and make sure that he was not committing, because that basically got Classic so far behind from where he could be in this game.
And then look at Dark's production too. He's gone back into drone production. He knows he did the damage that he needed to. Classic is down to 20 workers, and Dark has now exactly started to build a lot of workers of his own. Now, the difference being that Dark actually still has so many Zerglings here. They're all running in. You're going to need to see some overcharges, but that is a nice block.
Yeah, really nice block with that one Adept. He has the Void Ray and the Mothership Core. Killing those Lings as they try to break it down as well. And
when Zerglings get their speed upgrade, they get these little Zergling wings behind them. Like, it seems to me like that should be able to make them fly. Unfortunately, they still can't hit Void Rays or Phoenixes. And
well, they still can fly by hopping into a Drop Overlord, apparently.
That's true. Actually, there's an augment to Zerglings, I believe, in the single player that lets them jump up cliffs. Like, when I saw that in action for the first time, it actually just like scared me so bad. But here comes the second wave of Banelings. Will they be blocked in time? The answer is actually, well, yes, mostly, but it's going to allow more and more Zerg deep inside this base. Can Classic clean it up?
He's got to pull his probes here, which is the most annoying thing. I don't think he's going to lose that many probes in the process, and all these Lings should go down. But a very big probe pull here. And really just trying to get into the base and disrupt as much of this economy as possible.
A lot of lost mining time there. When you look at the army, though, workers now totally even, but the army definitely in Classic's favor. However, that Zergling run by did pull Classic back to his base, and so Dark is able to do things like get his infrastructure up that he needs. Lots of Queens on the way, lots of Spore Crawlers up, and so things have kind of stabilized, which feels kind of weird to say just because it is, it has been such a crazily aggressive early game.
Yeah, and I think Dark is going to finally back off a little bit here. Really just making drones at this point, a small amount of Lings just to stay safe. Lots of spores being made to deal with these Phoenixes and Queens as well, but still Classic finding some damage here, picking off Overlord by Overlord.
Well, this is like the 4th time he's supply blocked Dark, so really making this a lot more difficult to deal with. Now, morphing more drop Overlords means that there will be continual harass here from Dark, but he has to worry about succumbing to Classics now that he actually has a Void Ray in his base.
Void Ray just pulls on up. He's like, hey guys, what's going on here? I heard there was some damage being done, and he can actually just focus down the Spore Crawler with that. Is it going to be enough, though? That's a question. This is very very close. You know what? I think he's not going to get it. And there you go.
God.
It lives.
How do you not know what wins? Like, do you not practice that? You got to know what wins, a Spore Crawler or a Void Ray. Or at least like draw the Spore Crawler aggro with the Phoenixes first and then transfer it over. Void Ray goes down and the Phoenixes are out of there. But here comes another Zergling drop from Dark.
I suppose he did do a nice bit of economic damage just trading one Phoenix and one Void Ray. But yeah, I think you are definitely right. Maybe that's a situation that doesn't come up that often. You're not making too many Void Rays in this matchup. It's a pretty new thing that we see, like that consistent one Void Ray at a Classic. And the only thing that worries me now for Classic is that even though he's getting a nice bit of damage done, he's got a great army, right? His tech is so behind. Resonating Glaives is still far off, and his third base is very late, too. He just now put it down.
Well, Dark has also just now gotten an entire scout of everything that Classic is doing. He had Overlords to see everything, he had Zerglings running through the base to see absolutely everything, and so Dark feels not only like it's safe enough to expand, but he's also taking the forward 4th base instead of that base off to the side.
I don't know that Dark can hold this, actually. He has only Lings, and 2 Banelings are morphing. That's actually a pretty big army from Classic moving across the map, and he can support it with those Phoenixes, too.
I'm going to pull a Todd and tell you to look at the supply. 50 to 36, and most of that is Zerglings. So this is going to be a very difficult defense. That fourth, not necessarily holdable.
This is a nice idea by Dark. He's going to go for a counterattack. He knows that that third base is probably coming up at this point. But Classic, it looks like he wants to go actually for the throat. He doesn't even care about that fourth base anymore.
Lots of queens out there. Baneling's actually getting some okay hits, but I'm not sure that's really what he needs. Lots of transfuses on the queens to try to keep them alive there against the Phoenixes.
Wow.
And most of those queens do actually survive. This counterattack will probably be able to kill this third if nothing happens. And now we have to watch this Adept Carnage once again. Oh, no. Pull the Zerglings back on the Nexus. They can actually kill this Nexus off if
He's
they
going to try to focus in.
It's so close. Zergling gets it.
Just barely there.
Wow. I actually thought he had pulled those Zerglings off and wasn't going to be able to kill it. So that's decent damage done on both sides, but is there enough to defend here for Dark?
And these Phoenixes have just been a nightmare for Dark in this game. Actually, I'm going to take a look at how many kills some of these Phoenixes have.
I want to see how many workers have died this game, because it's going to be actually insanity to see exactly how many have gone down. Now, finally, we do actually have Dark in the deficit again, but it's just actually crazy to see how even both teams have been able to harass each other.
Yeah, very true. I mean, Dark, he keeps that fourth base, and Classic did lose his third, and let me take a look. He does have Resonating Glaives at least, but he's still down in upgrade. He's having trouble now losing some Phoenixes, and a lot of the pressure has been taken off of Dark now, so he's going to be getting a lot of tech here. He's going to feel very comfortable at this point in time to just macro up and tech up here.
And his fourth base is up right now for Dark. It looks like Hydras will be coming out here, and Baneling Speed as well. Going to make those Adepts much more difficult to use successfully, but we are seeing a different game than we did in Game 1, so at least we can check that box off the list. See how late this game does go, because we talked about it early on, and you even saw at the beginning of this game, Dark likes to play aggressively and end things early versus Protosses. So now we get a chance to see how what his late game looks like. I mean, Tempests have not been changed. David Kim hasn't had his evil way with those just yet.
Not yet.
Of course, I mean that sarcastically. I'm actually really excited for the new Tempest changes. But one of the big things that has not been changed is their insane range that Zergs can have a lot of problems dealing with.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting composition from Classic as well. Very Archon heavy, and lots of Adepts as well. No surprise there. But also just one Sentry. I'm not sure if that's on purpose, or you know, he's not warping anymore, but it's going to be good against the Hydras, I suppose, just for Guardian Shield, and it'll offer him a couple of force fields against the Banelings. He's actually going for an Archon drop, too, and escorting it with the Phoenixes across the right side of the map.
Just to make sure that he's clearing out all of the Overlords in their path, so this will be something that might be unscouted. However, you always have to be a little bit skeptical whenever you see Phoenixes clearing out the path for something. Will it be scouted? I think it actually is. Oh, yeah, that Zergling actually just ran right by the shuttle. So Dark should be able to deal adequately with this, but it might still result in the cancel of his fifth.
I like how Classic moves out at the same time, and he's not even going for that fifth. It looks like he wants to go either for the back door or the third base here.
Okay, so the fifth will actually get up, but still another push coming out here for Classic, grouping up in the middle of the map.
I think he wants to draw some units back and then go for an attack at the fourth. Look at this, a huge warp in to support these Archons, and the Phoenixes are still here as well.
And Zerglings do not do super well against Archons if they are allowed to get off those AoE auto attacks, but so many Hydras coming in should actually be able to clean this up incredibly quickly, but the big push up at the front is what is so dangerous to Dark. Will he be able to get his units up in position in time? Here come the Banelings rolling in. Force Field's not actually all that effective. Still those Baneling connections able to hit so many queens in the background, and those Archons just cannon fodder.
Yeah, not really working out the way Classic wanted to there. He's forced to recall, and the amount of transfuses that were left over means that Classic knew there was no way he could focus down that base. Still trying to do a bit of damage here. He has to be careful not to lose these Archons, getting very, very low on their shields.
Shuttle not entirely full health either, so all in all, Dark does actually hold that very, very well. So props to him there. He will have a fifth base up very, very soon now that his main's completely mined out and his natural is actually almost mined out there as well. So Dark defends successfully, and we'll see if he can actually We'll get this 5th base up and running.
That poor Archon couldn't move from behind the minerals there. Maybe he was just slacking and going for a bit of a dance there. We do have Storm on the way, which is going to be good against this composition, and it's going to be good against any lurkers that come out as well. We did see the lurker den be made, but still no lurkers just yet.
Well, Hive is actually on the way there as well with Aspire in production, so we're starting to get at least maybe a little bit closer to that late game. Now, I actually want to see this shuttle pressured back away, and actually the drops from that shuttle and all those Phoenix supporting it have been kind of ineffective. We'll see if maybe it can stick around and get some more work done, because there's still not a lot to defend that 5th base.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about this drop is really that it's just forcing Dark to come back and defend while he gets his what? He had a 4th base making. I'm not crazy, right, Rapid? Like,
no.
I think he did.
I don't think you're crazy. I remember
he switched his. Yeah, even the Korean casters are like, okay, he switched the location here, and I think that's pretty smart when you're going up against someone who's making lurkers. Perhaps he scouted this lurker transition somehow. Or just assume there would be lurkers, because you don't want to have lurkers on the high ground that you have to deal with.
Well, usually it is that base that you see Classic taking right now that is the traditional 4th base location, because if you do expand like right in front of your bases, then you're actually much closer to your opponent, so it makes it easier for them to harass you. Greater Spire actually now on the way, as our observers are showing us right there, and this is starting to get to that super late game that, I don't know, is so scary. For Classic, he actually has no Tempest right now, so you don't have to worry about that just yet. But this is a big push coming in here from Dark. We'll see if Classic can survive.
Oh, huge storms here on all of those hypers and the Banelings in the front, and the storms on the Circlings too. They just evaporate in thin air.
Cow. All right. Yeah, we need a weather forecast. Dark didn't have one, so he didn't know of the chance of storms all over everything, and a decent amount of damage done there by Dark to the army supply, but just losing everything else.
He's going to pick up a bunch of these lurkers on the chase as well. Some of them will get away, but definitely a nice battle won there. He did lose a bunch of his units, and Dark is remaxing here, beginning to put on a bit of pressure towards the front as well.
Adrenal Glands just now starting that upgrade that will make these Zerglings incredibly scary later on, but this is actually a big push. Now, I believe there is at least a storm in every one of those Templars that have not been morphed to Archons just yet, so this push up the middle of the map could be a little dangerous, especially since so much of Dark's supply is just in Zerglings, which die pretty quickly to Storm.
Nice defense by Dark against that Warp Prism. He's keeping it at bay. Kept a lot of his Queens there at the 3rd base. Queens did just move, and Classic does have a very small window now to try to go for some harass, but we'll see if he does recognize that and try to go for it. We do have the Greater Spire finishing up here, but no Broodlords just yet. Okay, there's the morph. Got 3 on the way.
3 on the way there. More and more Zerglings also in production. And if you just look at the supplies, though, that's what's starting to kind of worry me a little bit. Zerg is almost always on top in both workers and army, but just now, Classic's kind of overtaking him. So, especially with those storms and all that energy being stored up, we could just see a repeat of that last fight, although he comes in a drop for both players. We'll see who is more effective. It's not Classic.
Well, that didn't work, and this is a very small drop that's going to come into the main. You can definitely warp in and defend this one here.
Well, it's timed right at the same time Adrenal Glands is going to complete here as well, so these Zerglings will actually kill things so quickly. Lots and lots of Banelings rolling in to stop that drop, again from Classic being very effective. Here comes these Cracklings in the base.
Immediately goes for the Cybernetics core, funnily enough.
I think he's kind of like splitting his attention there, and he's actually just going to lose everything, so not effective by either player. These drops aren't really working out.
He's actually going to give up on this one. Oh, that poor Adept. Dude, could not get into the Warp Prism in time.
Yeah, Classic did not join the Marines. That definitely lots of people left behind there. Yeah,
that's what they say, right?
Like, you're not so adept at escaping alive. Baneling's being morphed here as well near the 4th base location. I forgot he actually canceled what was his 4th earlier, but here come the Tempest. Now, how many of these can Classic get out before he faces the next round of pressure from Dark?
Oh, here we go. A Baneling run by into the 4th base. A lot of the probes actually do get away here. I think there's some damage being done in the back door.
Classic is only on 40 workers. That's actually pretty low, especially now that he's going into Tempest production. He's making 1 Tempest right now. Like, 1 Tempest is not, I mean, I know Tempests are strong units, right? But you need, like, 20, 30 supply of Tempest to get out there before you actually just win the game because they're so strong.
He did just finish up his second and third Stargate, so he's going to begin that production now. And there are 6 Broodlords on the map, so, as long as there's not too much support in the sky, like there's no Vipers, there's only 9 Corruptors, now 10. And he's making 5 more. So actually, Dark, if he pushes right now, he's going to have a really nice timing where there's not that much air for the Protoss.
Yep, 1 Tempest and 1 Tempest only. A couple more about to pop out here. But here comes the big air with Queen support underneath it. And lots of Zerglings to boot here. So moving forward, they're actually trying to snipe off those observers, and he actually does get at least one of them. There might be more with the army, but this is a lot of air for Dark. Rolling with more Banelings here as well. There's only 40 workers, like I mentioned before.
Wow.
Big storms on those Banelings to deal with them. But look at this pressure on the front.
How is Classic going to be able to deal with this? There are lurkers and so many queens with full energy underneath all of everything that Dark has.
Nothing's going to die for Dark. He's just got so much transfusion as long as he's on top of his micro, and he is right there. This is just such a bad spot for Classic to be in. Will the storms make the difference?
That's really the question. The Banelings rolling in, and they get really good connections. And
Moving
all the Corruptors take out all the Tempest too.
So many storms all over everything, but there's just too much Zerg. Classic supply dropping here as Dark closes in. Down 1 game, but might be bringing it back. GG.
There you go. Dark looking good in that last one. And keep in mind, guys, that game started with a very, very aggressive pressure from Dark. He went for a Zergling Baneling all in with a couple of drops, and it kind of worked out, but it was looking a little bit shaky there. And Dark really did push it, get it back together, and really do a good job in coming back in that game.
I wasn't the most successful all-in from Dark, and he really did commit to it over and over again, but it did the damage that it needed to. It got him a worker lead, and then he macroed behind it, and just kept the pressure up. Even though that was a long game, and it did have its kind of slow moments where both players were doing the macro, Classic looked a little bit on edge for things like canceling that base and a lot of other like tiny little changes. But we'll have more time to talk about that when we get back from this quick commercial break. So get out there, tell your friends to watch SSL. It's Classic versus Dark. We'll be right back.